Good afternoon, one and all. On behalf of AIMS, I welcome you all to the Inspiring Young Leaders session and today's topic being management preparing for the new normal. Good afternoon, Dr. Nitin.
Good afternoon. Very good afternoon. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Dr. Sunil Joshi, and everybody. Good afternoon. And today we would be hearing from Dr. Nithyanandan Devaraaj, who's a very well-renowned person in the Coimbatore circle. I would introduce him. Before that, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Sujatha. I'm a journalist with the Caravan, and I have been in the media for the past 7 years. In between, I was with the Coimbatore Management Association also at the Secretariat. So I have known Dr. Nitin for about 25 years, I guess, right from the day I went off of college. I've known him right from those L&T days. And he's more like a father figure to me. So it's like I'm moderating my father session. Very happy to be here. Now I would and here is Dr. Nitin's profile for all of you. Dr. Nithyanandan Devaraaj, he is the CEO and MD of FLS VOITH, Chairman, Sri Avinashya Trust, Honorary Director, Foundries Development Foundation, President, Vice President, Coimbatore Management Association, past National Secretary, Indian Foundry Association. Dr. Nitin has about 35 plus years of experience in engineering manufacturing organizations, from hardcore manufacturing and marketing to general management as business head, working for PSG Group, LMW Group, LG Group, L&T, Hitachi, and CRI Group. Considered to be a professional with a rare blend of industry and entrepreneurial orientation, having been in governing and advisory council of many leading organizations and industrial associations. He's been credited with designing a few management courses in the field of product management, industrial marketing, operations management, cost management, and CSR. As National Secretary and member, Foundry Development Council and Policy Advocacy Committee of Indian Foundry Association, he has been a spokesperson for the industry. Dr. Nitin played a leading role in bringing landmark changes in export incentives, classification of MSMEs, CPCB norms, waste and disposal management, training and development of educated youth seeking employment opportunities. And he's also a managing trustee of a family managed trust involved in activities like rendering food, shelter, education, and Medicare for the deserving. Noted for rendering services during Chennai, Kerala, Tanjore, and Nilgiris floods. Dr. Nitin also played a vital role in turning around a division and a company and in establishing large-scale projects as benchmarks in industry. Has won several awards at national and regional levels, which includes Indian Foundry of the Year, Young Foundryman, and Foundryman Awards. 4-star award from CII, Green Award and Safety Award from Tamil Nadu government, and at national level from IAF. First Indian Foundry in the segment to get OHSAS 18001 and ISO 50001 certification, and many Kaizen awards. And his academics goes as well. It's a long list, so just be with me for a minute also. He has done his PhD in management sciences, MBA in finance and marketing, gold medalist and university topper, B mechanical engineer with distinction, and IRC certified lead auditor and assessor for ISO 9001. A guest faculty to premium in management institutes and was a visiting faculty to IIM Calicut, an examination for management qualification and assessor for management teachers. An acknowledged management trainer and consultant, is a regular business column writer. Winner of the Outstanding Alumni and Distinguished Alumni Awards for PhD institutions and Bharatiya University, the CMA Golden Jubilee Year Best Manager Award for the region, the Best Management Student Award, and many accolades at national level. The Mother Teresa Award of Excellence for Young Business Managers. Management interests include management of innovation, corporate strategic planning, and manufacturing management and green supply chain. Other interests include article writing and column writing. And it's a long biography, it's a long resume, Dr. Nithin. And before I hand over the floor to Dr. Nithin, I have two instructions to the participants. Participants cannot be able to unmute themselves if they have any questions. They can put it in the Zoom chat box and will be taken on the Q&A session. And the second instruction being feedback and attendance link will be shared in the Q&A session and is available only for 15 minutes. Certificates will be issued to only those who submit the feedback form. Now over to Dr. Nithin. The floor is yours, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone on the forum today. Very rarely people get an opportunity to be introduced by their own daughter. Sujatha is one to me, as she rightly said, she's known to me for last 20 years, and more than that, it started as professional connection and developed into a personal connection. You're able to hear me, ma? Well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
When Dr. Joshi and the AIMS team connected with me about a session, I was wondering what is the topic I should give. After a couple of days of thinking, I thought probably we will again talk about management, which is the very purpose of this. The AIMS, one of the objectives is to develop management all around, and obviously it could be of interest to all the people in the forum today. The subtopic what I have used is preparing for the new normal, and I have always believed management is all about the 5 M's: man, machine, materials, methods, and money. The basics continue to remain the 3 P's: products, people, and process. Of course, technology is the interface which takes care of the stakeholders' interest. Obviously, it is product and services management that matters, and delivery management and technology management. The way the things have changed over the years, I'm sure all of you will agree, the speed with which things are happening is much different from as it used to happen last 5 years, last decade, the decades before. I think today, whatever we are talking about, either the services delivery or the product life cycle, we don't look at beyond 24-month cycle. The 25th month, we look at the option wherein we can look at new products or new services, or probably we look at a new experience. The way the things have happened, aligning with that of the socio-cultural changes and technology changes that have helped in evolving socio-cultural setup. Obviously, today, the very shopping experience have moved from being compulsive shopping to convenient shopping to today pleasure shopping. You also shop. Nobody visits today the shopping malls only to buy things. They go there for the experience what they get. They go there for the kind of comfort what they have, and the other embodiments what they can see in a shopping mall, apart from shopping as well. So this kind of changes is aided by the affluence that is today what is seen in the middle income group, and the ability to spend as well. This is what I call as a socio-cultural change. As more and more the triangle becomes a kind of inverted. You have more postgraduates than graduates. You have more graduates than diploma holders, and diploma holders than ITIs. School dropouts are dropping, really. So obviously, the change induces the kind of earnings potential in the society, and as the earnings potential multiply, the spending potential will also increase. The affinity towards saving, though it is intact with the generation which is 40 plus, the generation which is in the sub 30s and sub 20s are in a kind of the spending more towards the pleasure what they have, and less towards the comforts what they want to create for the future. Of course, this is aided by dual carrier families as well, where both husband and wife work, and they also entice the support of the evolving support system, wherein you have today professional caretakers for the children and professional grooming of the children as well. Now, what result it will bring in the future, only the future can tell us as we evolve. One of the questions during one of similar sessions, one entrepreneur asked me, what is the real empowerment? People think that giving gadgets to the children and providing them all the comforts in isolation is what we call as empowerment. No, But the downside of this kind of an empowerment is the interaction, human interaction is kind of lost in the amidst the technology development. This will have to be very, very careful. So as society being important stakeholders, as parents, as children to our parents and as parents to our children, we have our own expectations. The primary responsibility on us is to groom the children where the human connectivity is never lost despite all the developments that happened around us. This is the primary theme in which I'm going to discuss about the people management in the entire presentation. The pace is okay, Sujatha?
Sir? Yes, sir. Going good. Yes.
Yeah. Everybody is able to hear. Maybe somebody can send a chat that they're able to hear clear and crisp.
So you're clear. The pace is good, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So, significant changes in the practice of management as a profession in the new millennium. Obviously, the ESG requirements are evolving, and as we move forward, there will be more and more strictures on complying with the environment, social, and governance requirements, which I use as the word governmental, not the governance. Governance is a result of ESG. Obviously, as long as we meet the environment, social, and regulatory requirements, the environment considerations already are inbuilt in the ESG requirements. So constraints imposed by environmental considerations, customization demanded by diverse customers. The biggest challenge all of us have in the consumer market is the unsold goods and inventory. Obviously, people are willing to pay a premium as long as the customization is done to the individual requirement. This is nothing but follows the Maslow's hierarchy of need theory. As people move from the basic needs to esteem needs, obviously, the demands also differ from people to people. So as people become affluent and as people want to differentiate from themselves from the rest of the human existence, quite naturally, the customization is the way forward. And all the marketers and sellers are trying to capitalize on this, by which process they are trying to reduce the unsold inventory as well. And charging a premium brings them additional revenue. And people are willing to pay in advance, which also takes care of their cash flow, helping them to reduce the positive gap to the negative working capital, towards negative working capital. Opportunities offered by technology developments in several sectors. The very convenient of today's discussion on the web is a result of technology developments. Today, I'm sure even many of the regulatory bodies accept the online meetings and online, even AGMs are conducted online. So we have to thank people for the kind of developments what we have, whereas the commutation has reduced, the productive time has increased to a large extent thanks to the technology development. And as a result, we are able to that extent protect the environment from being polluting by travels. Obviously, the pandemic, what we went through, created a kind of hybrid culture in the way the businesses are managed. People thought working from home will be the new normal. I think now companies are going back to in-office management. Of course, future will be always a mix of, it will be an hybrid form of management. Whoever wants to go to the office, they can go. Whoever wants to work from home, they can go, or they can choose both of the options, partly here and partly there. So this is possible today thanks to the technology. Availability of sophisticated diagnostic and computational tools. Thanks to developments of IoT and sensors, today the management on-site and dynamic management has become possible. You can measure as and when things happen, you can monitor and you can manage them. So obviously these tools help us to improve the business processes, not only the business process, but the outcome of the business process as well. It's kind of moving towards 7 Sigma and beyond that towards Epsilon. All of us know that as long as a business process is controlled, obviously the output is going to be as good. Because many of the products, the opportunity to fail at the consumer end is very, very minimum. And the repercussions if a product or service fails in the consumer end is much, much higher, what we call as consequential damages. So this has to be borne in mind, and as long as an organization adopts the latest developments in technology for measuring and monitoring the outcomes, obviously the results are going to be very, very positive. Wide choice of products and services. Just before getting into the meeting, we were talking about the Musa Bear as an organization. All of us know Musa Bear, one of the best run organizations with the latest technology for producing CDs. Unfortunately, the development in technology made the product, out of vogue. Their efforts to move up the value chain by being the producers of audio CDs and video CDs and movie CDs did not also fructify. Thanks to the developments in the integrated technology by way of cell phone, people are able to Netflix kind of thing. People are able to download what they want to download and see. Naturally, it killed the product, sometimes called as CDs, which all of us grew with. So today, people have choices for the same functionality or same service what they are looking for. Homestay, for example, today has come in competition for the hotels. Even developed chain of hotels are finding it difficult in some of the places where homestays have emerged better than the hotels. People are looking at personalized services. People have looking at home away from home. So the very normal is being challenged because of the choices today offered by the market as such, I can say that. The new business models are emerging because of these developments. Individuals have become entrepreneurs. Individuals have become self-employed. They're all monetizing the assets and the kind of paraphernalia what they have. So these kind of changes, what we call as gig economy, is going to help people prosper in the future and thereby keep the economy buoyant as well. Implications of globalization, innovation as the basis of competitiveness. All of us know, probably a decade before, we thought, at least in terms of geoeconomics, the world is becoming unipolar. But the moment pandemic set in, everybody wanted to safeguard their own economy. So obviously, the country has become today multipolar. Aided by geographic aspirations, it is today very well divided between east and west, north and south, and obviously there are more and more the barriers that is coming in the form of the various associations like ASEAN, G20, G7, NAFTA, whatever you call us. They have again become reverse protectionist associations. Quite naturally, the multipolarization is going to exist for some more time. And though in terms of geocultural and geosocial setup, people are coming together as human existence, but nevertheless, in terms of economics, this pulls and pushes will going to be there, and obviously, innovation will be the only basis of competitiveness. The 5 M's, as we all agreed: man, machine, material, money, and methods. Obviously, the decision influencer is going to be the technology. We are not looking at per se the payback period. In business, we have moved away from the word called payback period. We are looking at how to deliver the products and services as quickly as possible. And in case if there is a need to change, how quickly we can change. The adaptive management has come in place. So in terms of the typical management jargon, if you use, the management is moving from what you call reactive to proactive, from proactive to predictive. The predictivity is also today influenced by technology. Data mining, for example. Look at what is happening in Amazon. The moment you make 2 purchases, your profile is actually done the Amazon, and you keep you are bombarded with the kind of messages what you get. And even if you don't want to buy, you will be forced to buy. So that's the power of predictive management. And the hit rate, I believe, is more than 10% as far as Amazon is concerned. Their success is making people buy who actually don't have a need for the product or services by just data mining and targeting specifically each individual, what the kind of profile they are, what kind of products and services they will look forward to. So as I said in the beginning today, payback period is only one of the criteria. We are looking at how to channel products and services as quickly as possible. In case of need, how to exit whatever the investment what we have made as quickly as possible. So today, we don't look at an investment beyond 3 years. And quite naturally, the technology becomes very, very important while making a choice of investment. The basics remain. Critical to success is always quality, cost, delivery, and logistics. Contribution, gross margin, net margin, return on capital employed, payback period, and profit after tax. So today, all of us know the fundamentals remain. The fundamentals remain same. Whether you are in product or you are in service, irrespective of what you want to deliver to the customer, these three matters a lot. During the pandemic, all of us know the last mile connectivity became very, very important for even the society to survive. And it's only because of technology and connectivity, society could manage to the extent what it was able to manage. Certainly, all of us were not happy, but all of us were at least today feel happy to have overcome the kind of strenuous challenges imposed by the pandemic. This is only because the technology helped to get the last mile connectivity. Leveraging IoT, we are moving slowly away from I 4.0 to I 5.0, where human beings cannot be isolated from that of what developments happens in and around us in terms of technology. So quite naturally, human beings have to play an essential part of the developments that happens in Industry 4.0. So we are in era of Industry 5.0. As a professional and as an individual, I've always felt that technology should supplement human beings and never be a replacement for human beings. But having said that, it is also to be realized that wherever human intervention is there is a scope to err. The behavior of an individual in the first 1 hour and the last 1 hour is very different. During the lunch time, it is very different. I'm sure all of you will agree with me, whoever is 45 plus, 70% of the professionals today employed are either hypertensive or diabetic. So you can naturally imagine their behavior between 11 o'clock and during the lunch time. So it simply means that whenever the human element is involved, you cannot, you have to imagine that there is always scope for error, and that is where technology helps to eliminate those kind of error or minimize the impact of the errors. Lean management, we have been talking over and over again. Obviously, there is yet to, because the growth has to happen at least 10 times in terms of productivity if you are to catch up with the rest of the world. Now, to what extent this can be achieved by investment in technology? Obviously, only the socio-political and socio-economic setups can reveal us. Yes, India is a country where the population is imminent, and what is considered to be a liability is working to be an asset because it offers a larger market. But having said that, how productive this population becomes is very, very critical for us to succeed in the long run beyond 2030. All the efforts are being put in by the governments to make the people productive by way of employment generation or by way of self-employment. But all these things we will definitely fructify in terms of creating or growing the market. All of us know market is proportional. Market growth is proportional to that of the demographic changes and the ability of the demography to buy products and consume products. Naturally, as the things move, we are in a very, very positive framework, and India is well poised to derive the advantage of the population. What is that? The only caution is we have to become more and more creative in terms of making the population earn what they rightly can earn. So as the affluence increases, as the consumption increases, the challenge will be to manage the waste. So that's important. So we need to, the very definition of lean has now emerged as the value addition ports. And if you look at the value analysis and the VEV analysis, VED analysis, vital, essential, and desirable analysis, even desirables is getting eliminated from the lean principle of lean management. So naturally, the focus is on tag time now, how quickly you can deliver the service or product from the day it is ordered or the day the interest is given by the potential consumer or customer. The waste, what we are looking at is overproduction, waiting time, transportation, unwanted process, the inventories, efforts, and defects. Nothing new. But of course, we are looking at from the new perspective as we aspire to compete with the rest of the world more and more with our neighbor China. Cost is definitely going to be an element. And these are the things what is shown on the right hand side is adding to the cost as of now. And you can imagine the high interest rate what the country is going through. There is no respite in case we still continue to have these kind of unwanted things. So technology from mass to batch, from batch to flexible management system. Today, the machinery manufacturers, the integration of technology has evolved to the extent you can manage from large batch sizes to even single flow of piece. So it all depends on how the businesses adapt these changes. Obviously, there is an investment. So you'll have to do a very thorough mapping of the market and potential of the target customers in terms of paying ability. What they would be willing to pay for the product what you are intending to produce and supply. Friends, the traditional way of looking at the needs and wants of the markets have today changed. The success of an organization remains in believing that you may want to sell what the customer may want to buy. The need could be a latent need. The need could be a created need. But you have to believe in yourself that you will be able to sell what the customer may want, not really want. So to create the difference between want and may want is the ability of the businesses to generate that kind of an interest. That is where this mass to batch to flexible management systems will help us in identifying the niche requirements of each customers. All improvements are a result of simplification. Simplification is the very important strategy which all of us have to adopt and apply, because the more and more we think about the management, the more and more we think about, say, for example, the organization structure, we only complicate things. People call us lean structure, people call us vertical structure, horizontal structure, matrix structure. But if you move around the world, the structure is very, very flat. You have a value-adding employee, then you have a facilitator, then you have an owner of the business. That's all, only 3 levels. Whereas in India, we are used to kind of a very steep vertical structure. You have workmen, then you have supervisors to supervisors, you have managers to managers, you have general managers to managers, then you have vice presidents to managers. The kind of structure you cannot continue to have. One level you create, it's only you're creating one level of bottleneck. So as long as the structure is simple, it will help you to design better products, deliver in a faster way. The layout will also can be very productive. Process and procedures can be very, very straightforward. It is just keep it simple and straight. KISS. So it is efficiency and effectiveness. The difference is doing right things and doing things right. Today we are on an era where you have to be effectively efficient. Deliver what the consumer wants and deliver more efficiently and quickly as he wants. Continuous and continual improvement. Both are essential. Though in businesses we look at continual improvement to enjoy the gains of the development taken place elsewhere in terms of technology and in terms of changes in the market as such. And adoption should also happen at the rate where you can capitalize on the commercial benefits out of the changes what you make. But nevertheless, continuous change is required for you to have a mindset and willingness to change as and when the demand comes in. So emergence of self-managed workforce. The more and more the population becomes educated, the more and more population becomes exposed to technology and becomes an adaptive population to the new developments, the necessity to micromanage reduces to a large extent. This in turn will reduce the cost of overheads and help people to become more and more productive. In the sense, the need for supervision to a large extent reduces. The managers become only facilitators, and obviously the workforce will become more and more self-managed. And today again, technology helps you to understand what happens at the lowest level in a business environment. It's always a connected organization. It depends on one's own interest to find out what's happening and where it's happening and how is it happening. Advantage India, I'm sure all of you would have heard about this many times. Amongst the youngest economy, Indians significantly everywhere, low cost of real estate and labor, technical manpower and language skills, growth of SMEs, the culture. See, recently I came back from an European visit. It's very clear the world is moving towards China and India, though all of us are talking towards 1+, we still have a long way to catch up with. The advantage today we have is we are multilingual. And yet another example I am seeing, the core courses where in a country like Germany, where 100 people used to join, today not more than 3 people are joining. So you can imagine without the fundamental manufacturing taking place, you cannot have a surviving society. Whether you do it with 1 person or 100 people, it depends on the level of technology you have. But nevertheless, manufacturing has to stay for the benefit of the society itself. So these are the kind of professions which will probably be available for Indians. What has happened in software is next going to happen in manufacturing and support systems. Obviously, there are language challenges, there are cultural challenges, and as we move, as the population moves and becomes adaptive, the opportunities will be always global. There is a recent survey which says beyond 2035, people will not be surprised if 35% of global organizations are managed by Indians across the world. So that's the kind of emphasis, thanks to our education system, thanks to our value system, thanks to our knowledge capital, and in terms of skill capital, we will be definitely there. We will be able to leverage the gaps induced by the emerging economies and emerging societies. There is a huge gap between consumer expectation and provider readiness. That's what we call as an opportunity. We should continuously work on those opportunities. So, how are we on timeline?
We have time, sir. We have time.
Time. So, of course, the tools we all know, it's JIT and Kanban, quality circles, TQM and TPM practices, statistical process control techniques, Six Sigma, lean management, and agile structure. While most of the words are not new, especially up to the lean management, today what scores the business success is the agility of the structure. As a manufacturing man, I'm a big follower of, I have to make an humble submission here, I'm a big follower of Japanese philosophies. The agility in terms of organization structure, the most rigid businesses is induced by Japanese culture. They believe that if things don't change in 3 years, that means they are not growing. So we have to move towards that kind of an agility where people change, the investment change, the layout changes, the infrastructure changes. Only then we will be able to meet the emerging expectations of the society in terms of both technology and services. So it's nothing but cannibalization. You have to kill your own products. You have to kill your own practices. So naturally, at least 15% of your engagement should be the 80-20 rule, I would say, should be always 3 years down the line. This is very important for you to continue to sustain the success or to keep stable in the business, relevant in the business diaspora, I can say that. Balanced and appropriate use of technology. The moment we talk about technology for technology's sake will not help, friends. Technology has to be value adding and technology has to meet the expectations of consumers and customers. If it is non-value adding and doesn't help us to meet the expectations of consumers and customers, please don't adopt this technology. Because the cost of adoption is today much higher. You cannot help to have because you're biased towards particular technology or a particular development. It's quite naturally the evaluation in terms of use and in terms of benefit is very, very important. It's more than cost to benefit. It has to be seen from the engagement of the consumer and the customer in terms of their needs and wants, meeting their needs and wants. So the business is always increasing complexities, unprecedented changes, unpredictable technologies, uncertain environment, and non-availability of relevant data. So to me, all these are opportunities. If something is stable, it gives a kind of jittery, that means things are not changing. So quite naturally, the very changing complex nature of the environment itself is an opportunity for you to do something new every day. So that helps you because the changing diaspora will also induces change in the mindset of consumers and customers. People also look for something new every day. So quite naturally, if you can offer them something new every day, why not? Why not? The market continues to grow, the market continues to be buoyant. So there is obviously, when we aspire to change dynamically, there is a compromise between risks and returns. How much you want to modernize and what is the return you are looking at. So all of us know world over, only 30% of the decisions made succeed. But the 70% failures are required to succeed in the 30%, to identify the businesses that don't work, to identify decisions that have not worked. So without making decisions, you would not be able to make the 30% right decisions. They will more than outgrow the losses what you have made in the 70% drop decisions. So importance here is you take a risk, return may be less, but then if you don't get the aspired returns, keep moving and make other changes and investment. That's important for you. This is again, I'm only recapturing what has been told time and again. Skills have given way to knowledge. Product services have become learner-centric. Graduates have become lifelong learning. Cost of doing business is becoming competitive advantage. Passive participation of today become active participation. What we call a CFM, a computational fluid mechanics. Like you become QCDLM. Today, consumers are also part of your development process. Suppliers are also part of your development process. It's become a collaborative commerce today. Competitors have become collaborators. People have common interests. The Porter's 5 force principle is today being challenged. When all stakeholders are looking at a simple objective of keeping the market buoyant always and at all times, quite naturally, the collaboration is the only way. So obviously, from passive participation, by witnessing what happens, you become an active participant. Just in case has become just in time. Static has become customized content. Mandated has become self-directed. Instructor-led has become library of learning methods. I keep saying this jargon. Manage it's very difficult to teach management unless people are willing to learn. That's what the last line says. Instructor-led courses become library of learning methods. And again, the new normal is going to be remote working, shared cost and income model. When I say shared cost and income model, it's across the value chain, including customers and suppliers. Self-managed workforce, home-to-home monitoring, 45,000 revisit. This is nothing but the safety, HOSHAs, what we call as organization and health and safety practices. Because of the emerging challenges what the employees have to undergo. Employee mix, permanent, semi-permanent, and floating. Today, I believe it's possible for you to get engaged in more than one organization as long as there is no competing interest. So that's important. Cash flow presence, meaning that you become a freelance employee than a permanent employee. Opportunities are very high for that. So cash flow precedence over profit and sales. Today, I'm sure all of you will agree, thanks to pandemic, again, cash has become the king. It's not just profit. If you ask me, sales, profit is more important than sales and cash flow is more important than profit. That's the order with which we work. So customer is more important than, the sales, what it brings. And obviously what profit the customer brings in is more important than the sales you have made, and the cash flow, the paying ability of the customer is also very, very significant. Towards zero debt. Given the dynamics of the business, Z has to be as minimum as possible. Today, the most differentiating factor is the cost of capital. As long as you operate with your own funds, you become more and more competitive. The principles of leveraging has given way to principles of rotation. Your ability to rotate your own capital, your ability to rotate your own cash flow is today more vital than leveraging the debt capital. Because business is never permanent. It's always crits and toughs. Whereas your debt investment is going to be permanent. Whether you make money or not, you have to repay. It's quite naturally the mix has to be very, very carefully decided. Traditional employee welfare was familial engagement, food and housing. Today, many of the companies encourage dual career employment in the same organizations. It's familial engagement. Again, this has emerged only from the software industry, but today even manufacturing industry practices. It has already started in the shop floor level engagement, where husband and wife are engaged in the same, in the same organization. May not be in the same business process, but at least in the same organization. focused on automation and process innovation. See, more and more, the scope to product innovate as it diminishes, the only way for you to become more competitive is business process innovation. This could be marketing, this could be manufacturing, or this could be delivery process. But then innovation is here to say, and innovation is the only way you can progress. Optimize fixed capital to variable capital ratio, fixed cost to variable cost ratio. Both are important. Fixed capital versus variable capital. Variable capital means using external resources, leveraging external, what we call as insourcing and outsourcing. You can play around with. Today it is possible. The government permits, the regulation permits. You can have insourcing, you can have outsourcing, you can have joint capital holding. So all these things are possible. Similarly, fixed cost versus variable cost. As long as you keep the fixed cost low as possible, your business tends to earn more. You have become more and more flexible to that extent as long as you minimize the fixed cost. The century is going to be, to quote the Prime Minister Modi, the century is going to be linked with the virtual world. Maybe in the days to come, we will have virtual malls and digital manufacturing. Change is coming fast, and we need our urban areas to keep pace with the changes. Today, it's beyond urban areas. It's semi-urban, semi-rural, even rural. Many of the rural markets have become today digitally covered. The kiosks, what we call the last mile connectivity. Even rural India has today become highly connected to the technology. Success depends on the teamwork, as it is the system efficiency that matters and not the individual efficiencies, measurables and controls, the capability to deliver extraordinary performance with ordinary people. All these three statements are going to live forever. As long as there are people who are going to be extraordinary and ordinary. You have to deliver extraordinary, performance with ordinary people, because if you eliminate ordinary people, who form the 80% of the population, the market does not grow. But the onus is on us, the educated people, the so-called educated population, to leverage these ordinary people to add value to the business process and then add value to their own, for our own self-interest. Unless they earn to the extent they can spend, the market does not go. If you can't measure, you cannot control. So measurables today, thanks to the technology, sensors, IoT, you can measure the last mile of the business process. What you're doing, micro business management, micro business capturing, data accuracy, all is possible. Of course, interpretation still today is individualistic. But thanks to the technology aid, today people interpret rightly and make right decisions as well. So the controls, you can impose controls as you're able to measure. So both, minimum and maximum can be imposed on any business process you want, to the extent you want to deliver a value-adding process to the consumer. Teamwork. Today, the weakest link determines the efficiency of your team. So quite naturally, we have to identify the weak link and see how to strengthen them and help you deliver the process, deliver the products and services as it is deemed necessary. Future of the management is going to be multidisciplinary, multi-mode, multimedia, a multiple partner enterprise. So as I was quoting in the European trip, I very well realized that as long as your proximity to the market, proximity to the customer is ensured, people are very comfortable buying any product from anywhere. Obviously, there are biases. Nobody wants to put down their own products and services coming from their own countries. But today's scenario is much beyond these biases. The population is not growing where it is to grow, so the population is growing elsewhere. So if you want to leverage the growing population for the holistic benefit of the global population, the only way is to become multidisciplinary, multimodal, and multi-partner enterprise. This is a quote from Toyota I have taken. The Toyota style is not to create results by working hard. It is a system that says there is no limits to people's creativity. People don't go to Toyota work, they go there to think. A thinking organization creates products and services that is for the future. That's very, very important. So it is always, when you, in the DQM parlance, 20% of the management have to think 80% of the time for the future. The bottom 80% of the people have to think 20% at least for the future. So how can we be different from today, tomorrow? How are we different from today, from yesterday? So the difference has to be understood, and people should be willing to create that kind of a difference. Whatever they are doing, whatever little differences. So friends, the organization is always an incremental change. Leapfrog change happens once in a blue moon, but that leapfrog changes are imposed by development cells outside the organization. It is only the ability of the organization to identify the leapfrog changes and adapt for its own goods and benefits. Whereas on day-to-day process, business process, it's the incremental changes that matter. 10 times 10% is 100%. So we have to encourage people to improve at least 10% year on year. That's a very basic minimum required. If 100 people can improve 10% of the time, the organization improves by 10%. As the market grows, it multiplies to more than 10%. It becomes a compounding factor. The 10% becomes a compounding factor. And this is where the focus should be. Business should not outgrow population. It's very, very important. For you to create a sustaining business, you have to keep a tab on what population is and what the demographic changes are and what the buying capabilities will be. There is a possible end to need, but not greed. So recognize it. Are you meeting the need or are you meeting the greed? So that's important. So predictive management, people believe people will learn what they want and don't oversell. This is very, very important. Today, you are in an era where you cannot afford to make mistakes twice. So exit strategy has become very, very relevant as much as entry strategy. Whether you are in a product business or service business, so you have to recreate yourself. You have to begin cannibalization has become today a business strategy. How soon you can get out of one product is very important by creating a new product or service. Leverage, you have to move to virtual from actual. That's important. People should feel what they are buying. That emotional engagement, the live engagement with both products and service is very, very important. Look at the advertisements for the latest automotive manufacturers. The way they develop the the cockpit gives a very different experience to the people. People believe that they are part of the equipment what they use. That's the kind of engagement what we should create by adopting technology. Benefits far outweigh cost. Benefit to cost ratio is always should be greater than 3 at least. That's what people are looking at. So 3 years down, within 3 years, they can go for replacement. That's very important. Never wait for policy and fiscal interventions or incentives. You have to create your own markets. Don't wait for governmental interventions. That's what it means. Redesign often to stay relevant. The needs and wants, even if they don't change much, you have to create ways to meet those needs in a very newer way. That's what this statement means. The way we wear our dresses will continue to remain. But how are you offering? What is the change you are offering? It's very, very important. Reinvention is also part of this redesigning process. But how well you market and sell is very, very important. Thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity. I'm sure I have covered to the extent what needs to be covered for today's topic. I'm open for questions. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Nithin. The floor is open for questions. Please post your questions in the chat session. Dr. Nithin, before anybody puts up a question, I would like to know, how do you see artificial intelligence in the coming years with respect to managing a journalist job? So how do you see AI in the coming years?
So recently we had a team of management educators visiting our facility. Actually, it's a very question they also posed on me. See, it depends on what we look at AI as. You look at AI as a replacement tool or an enabling tool. As long as you look at artificial intelligence as an enabling tool, it adds value to the society. The moment you look at AI as a replacement tool, it destroys the society. So the change is very, very critical for us to adopt AI in a right way. All of us use AI to the extent what is required to be used. But when something is enforced on you, that is when you become uncomfortable. So I'm sure there is going to be a period where AI stabilizes, and there is scope for every business. For example, in agriculture today, farming is going to depend a lot on artificial intelligence. For them, it is only going to improve the way the farming is done. Predictability will increase. The employee productivity will also increase in farming, which is going to be better as long as the the recovery per acreage increases. That the amount of land will be available for you to grow other businesses. I'm just giving one example. Manufacturing today, you don't get people to work in hardcore manufacturing. So artificial intelligence is the only way where we can produce more and more as the population demands. So again, I go back to my original statement, what I said. As long as AI is seen as an enabler, it's going to add value to a society or to a large extent, and you cannot avoid that from conquering the spaces which is left void by the human beings. I'm using the word left void by the human beings, not still managed by the human beings. I hope I have answered your question.
Thank you, sir. There was one more question on the chat, YouTube Live. How do you see or forecast management in 10 years? I couldn't get the name. I think it's V. Ramachandran, an MBA student. How do you see or forecast management in 10 years down the line?
It's like managing. Managing an organization will become more and more like managing a family.
Okay.
You have to have the personal connect, because the scope to manage for business processes is going to reduce. At my age, I am seeing the young generation more exposed and more informed. Obviously, there is nothing more for them to learn from me unless I add value to their personality. So that's very, very important. The role as a leader for me is today to make them understand what is the future, what is there in future for them, and how they should be prepared for the future. If I go tell them, you do this, you don't do this, they may not like. They already know. Their information base is much higher than what we are.
Okay.
So as they come in with fresh ideas, and we should leverage that. You should learn from the young population. You should become more and more mentor and a guide than a manager. That's what I'm looking at the future as such in terms of management. And as the organizations become lean, the scope to manage will reduce. You cannot have a supervisor to supervisor, manager to manager, manager to general managers. That scope is going to reduce to a large extent. So every individual in the organization has to be value adding, irrespective of the position what you hold. That's going to be important. Yeah.
And there's one more question about how do you see the academic sector in another 10, 20 years?
For NEP to stabilize itself will take another 20 years. Obviously, the NEP is going to be the new normal in the education system, which is nothing new actually, which happens elsewhere in the world. India is also trying to adapt. So obviously, it is up to the educators to change first and believe that the NEP is going to contribute to the society and themselves as well. That is very important. So more and more emphasis will be given on practical learning than the theoretical learning. That's what I look at. So obviously, the coexistence of the organizations and the educators will also play a major role. People should collaborate more and more. There should be exchange of people moving from educational institutions to organizations and from organizations to educational institutions. So that change should happen, and it should happen fast.
Okay.
That's important. Yeah.
There is one question from Dr. Karnakar Jha. He asked, AI and ChatGPT are a threat or an opportunity? I guess Dr. Nithin answered this question earlier. Yes.
As long as you see it as an enabler, it is always an opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Nithin, for the wonderful session. It was quite an eye-opener. And thank you for talking to us over a wide range of things regarding management. I'm sure everybody enjoyed the session. So did I. And I would like to thank Dr. Nithin first, and then extend my thanks to Mr. Sudhi Sharma, President, AIMS, Dr. R. Nandagopal, immediate past President, AIMS, and all the board members, AIMS Secretariat, and the participants, to the last but not the least, the participants. Thank you, Dr. Nithin. Thank you for the wonderful talk. And thank you, participants.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joshi and Ms. Sujatha, for all the wonderful, the way the session was conducted and the opportunity given. See you sometimes in the future as quickly as possible. Bye-bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you, everyone.